Welcome to They Didn't Teach Us This in Sex Ed, the official podcast from the Society for Reproduction and Fertility. In this episode, I'm at Fertility 2026, arguably the UK's biggest reproductive health and fertility conference, and I managed to grab 4 of the fantastic speakers for a wee quickie about their work to give you a flavour of the conversations to come. In the main episodes, I'll sit down with a guest or some guests for a deep dive into the science, the stories and the topics that they didn't teach us in sex ed, but probably should have done. But for now, here's a wee teaser of what's to come. So Professor Bola Grace, thank you for agreeing to come along and tell me a wee bit about your work.
My pleasure.
So you're interested in reproductive health information online, right?
Yes, so I do a lot of work at the intersection of reproductive health and digital health technologies. And one of my presentations here is about how we use social media for reproductive health information.
What would you say to people, Bola, who are scrolling through their feed on TikTok or Instagram and they're seeing information about reproductive health, fertility and things like that online?
Yeah, firstly, there's a lot of information online. It's a rich resource and people post their lived experiences which might connect to people. Secondly, those platforms are doing exactly what they're designed to do, which is to exploit emotions, outrage, for us to connect with that information. So if you're going there to seek information or to see what others have gone through, it is your job to make sure that you're not responding emotionally, don't be emotive, and then pause and see, does this make sense? And then look for reputable sources.
Yeah, and the work that you've brought here today, what are the key messages or the key findings that you've discovered in your research?
So we looked at 203 papers that have talked about any social media platform and reproductive health education, and less than a quarter, 23.1% of those studies reported accurate information. So there's a lot of misinformation online, as well as disinformation. Disinformation is with malicious intent. Misinformation is the most, which is people just post whatever without any scientific evidence.
Yeah. So for people who are seeking information and they want to know more about their reproductive health, what would your advice be in terms of getting access to evidence-based, accurate information?
So my recommendation would be go to reputable sources, go to reproductive health organizations, societies. By the way, my little pet peeve here is that reproductive health organizations have a wealth of information, but we don't make the content digestible for the general public. So there's a lot of work for us to do to make sure that we're connecting with the public, especially in this day of misinformation.
Yeah, and that is the aim with this podcast. So people should subscribe and follow the podcast so that they can get up close and personal with the experts like yourself who are doing the good work and making sure people have got access to the information they need. So thank you very much for your time.
Erin.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of your research.
Same here. Take care.
So, Professor Paul Fowler, welcome. Thank you for agreeing to come and talk to me about the fantastic research that you presented here at the conference.
My
so
pleasure.
you talked about the concept of the exposed fetus. So tell us what that means and why it's important.
Well, every day we're exposed to chemicals, we're exposed to air pollution, we eat food that's been prepared in cooking utensils covered with forever chemicals. We even wear trousers. I'm at this moment wearing trousers that have PFAS on them, so the rain goes off these forever chemicals. Now this is fine as far as it goes, but the fetus in the womb has no protection against these chemicals. The placenta is of limited protection, lets a lot of stuff through. This isn't criticising the placenta, it does its proper job very well indeed for most pregnancies. And that we're often asked questions, how can we protect ourselves against these different compounds? And it's not so straightforward. If you live in an area with high air pollution, you
have
what
to
can
breathe.
you do? Move. And who can afford to do that with the cost of living and everything else? You can get rid of your forever chemical coated cooking ware, but again that's expensive, and you need to know what your new cookware is covered in. So there are other things people can do, like filter their own water to remove PFAS, but that's expensive. You can take some basic steps. For instance, if you're worried about your child having exposures to chemicals, you can make sure you buy toys from reputable sellers. But of course those will be more expensive, and you can do things like avoid soft plastics, which are more likely to leach.
I don't know that.
Yeah, that's a useful thing to know. So you can take these small steps. It's like you can avoid moisturizer. So someone with dermatitis, I have to use moisturizer, but I wouldn't use anything with parabens in it, for instance. So you can take these small steps, but really the most important step is to communicate with your MP that you are not happy with current UK legislation. And on things like forever chemicals, toys, we are deviating further and further from EU safety laws.
Standards, yeah.
So why should children and pregnant women be more protected in the EU than they are in the UK?
Yeah. And in terms of your exposure to these things, I would imagine that at particular developmental stages of life you might be more susceptible to the influence of these never chemicals, and obviously you've focused a lot on the fetus. So is that a particular life stage where we are much more susceptible to these chemicals in terms of how they affect our development and our health?
It is, because, so for instance, in the first trimester, the first third of pregnancy, that's when a lot of the organs start to form. And you've got this whole process of the formation of organs and the development of organs, and then they become switched on, like the liver.
Yeah.
So by 11 weeks of pregnancy, the liver is starting to do quite a lot of stuff. But we've seen, for instance, with fetal exposure to forever chemicals, these PFASs, by 12 weeks, they're already showing changed metabolism.
That's 12 weeks of gestation, so still during pregnancy. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's quite frightening.
Yeah. And if they're then exposed as children to PFASs, and then as adults, you get this sort of double triple whammy. Yeah. That makes them more likely to be overweight or obese, and that then can affect their health in general, but can also affect their fertility. So it can have impacts then on the next generation.
Yeah, so it's these early exposures could actually lead to lifelong changes that affect a person at all stages of their life.
Yes.
Is that what the data is telling us?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that, as I say, that is quite frightening to think about. And I wondered as well what your thoughts are on how we can communicate this information to pregnant women in particular in a way that maybe isn't completely panic-inducing, but also takes into consideration the realities of women's lives. Like you say, you can't just up and move if you're exposed to certain never chemicals. And you did give some good tips on how we can reduce our exposure, but is there a way we can get the message out there?
So obviously we don't want pregnant women, or indeed anybody, panicking. We don't want women who are pregnant to get more stressed than they probably already are. They've got so much to worry about. But they could take these tiny steps, these sort of simple things we can do. So, for instance, often just by looking at, say, the air pollution data and saying, well, I'm not going out for my today's exercise because it's higher air pollution, I'll stay at home.
Yeah.
But honestly, really, write to your MP. Yeah. If they get enough communication about this that people
they'll start to take it seriously,
they might take it seriously.
Great. And it's fantastic that researchers like yourself and some of our other colleagues that are here at the conference are really focusing in this topic of environmental exposures. So thank you for sharing some insights with us, and we look forward to seeing more of your research in the future.
My pleasure, thank you.
I'm here with Sugha Murugesu, who gave a fantastic presentation yesterday at the Society for Reproduction and Fertility's Satellite Day on new methods for diagnosing miscarriage. I was really struck, Sugha, with the really practical based impact of your research. So can you tell me a wee bit about what drove the research?
So miscarriage is a huge issue. As I mentioned in my talk yesterday, there's a big series of papers published in The Lancet which went into depth about miscarriage. It's called Miscarriage Matters. And it speaks of the fact there are 23 million miscarriages worldwide each year, so 44 pregnancy losses each minute. And of course it has psychological, physical and economic impact on the world, to women and their partners and their surrounding family. What I wanted to do is look at miscarriage diagnosis thresholds. It's absolutely a never event to misdiagnose a miscarriage. But there are a cohort of women who are IVF patients where we know the exact dating of their pregnancy. And obviously in spontaneous pregnancies, we don't take into account dating because last menstrual period can be unreliable in terms of cycle timing. However, in IVF patients, we know the dating, and the question was, can we come up with a threshold that could definitively diagnose miscarriage earlier for these women? So these are a cohort of women who have gone through IVF, who are having medication, who the prolonged anxiety of a pregnancy of unknown viability will have a huge impact. And so what we did is we collected data from 14 different sites across the UK, and the sum total data was from over 10,000 cycles.
Wow.
And we found that there was a threshold. So at 47 days gestation and above, if there was an empty gestation sac, it definitively resulted in miscarriage by the end of the first trimester. And that's quite an important threshold because it affected, in our cohort, just over 400 women. So if you think that's 4% of the total in our study cohort, it is a
significant. So in terms of, the application of this, so what if this was something that could be introduced now as a measure or a diagnostic tool in the clinic, it would mean that women wouldn't have to wait as long to know whether their pregnancy would be
and that's
viable.
what sort of inspired the whole project to start with. I was working in the early pregnancy unit and meeting women that had come from the IVF clinic, being told, oh, you've got a small for dates, but we can't take into account your dates. You have to wait another 2 weeks. Oh yeah, continue medication because we can't for sure tell you it's a miscarriage. Oh, don't go on holiday because you might have a miscarriage.
Yeah, so these are women who are already anxious that they may be having a miscarriage. So it's no standard IVF diagnostics of pregnant or not pregnant. It's actually you're pregnant, but now we're concerned
sure
about the viability of pregnancy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I can imagine the anxiety
huge,
and that the 2 week wait is when you're waiting to find out if you're pregnant, but then the 2 week wait when you don't know what's going to happen with that pregnancy must have a significant impact. So I mean, there's a huge potential there to
I think
really help women with this research.
The next steps will be to sort of reduce their confidence interval as much as possible. So I think then, as I said yesterday in the talk, it will be a case of other centres conducting their own data collection as well and sort of amalgamating it. And then it's a case of talking to guideline committees and seeing if it can be introduced. It's a tricky one. It's not a case of we're actually saying let's lower the threshold, which needs to be done really carefully.
Yeah.
We need to have a huge amount of evidence before clinical change comes about. But hopefully it's definitely steps in the right direction.
Yeah. But you mentioned the criteria was it an empty gestational sac? So for those of us who are no clinicians or scientists, can you explain actually what that is and what it means?
So what it means is that what you see on the ultrasound scan is a sac. So that's the
amniotic or allantoic sac,
gestation sac, but there's no fetal pole inside it.
Right.
And in the current miscarriage diagnoses, if it's below a certain size, you have to wait 2 weeks. If it's over 25 millimetres, only at that point can you definitively diagnose miscarriage.
Right.
Otherwise, you have to wait a certain time period and rescan. And if it's still an empty sac, then you can definitively
say. So it would just reduce that uncertainty and give a more definitive answer for women at a much earlier time point. I mean, I think personally the potential impact of this research would be fantastic, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a fantastic presentation, and keep us updated. I hope to see your work being rolled out in clinics to help women all over the country. Well done.
Thanks
for your time.
Thank you.
So I'm here at Fertility 2026 with Toby Trice, founder of Test Him and racing driver for Porsche UK. So what's the link between racing and male fertility?
It's a bit of a bonkers one, right? A bit of a bonkers one.
So never seen a Porsche at a fertility conference.
No, this is probably a first. Global first, I reckon? I think so.
Probably. Yeah, we're going to claim that. We're going to claim that.
We'll claim it. So it's a bit of a strange link, really. I went through 6 years of fertility treatment myself. I'm here as a patient, someone that really cares for the industry, that helping couples out with fertility issues. During my fertility journey, I really struggled mentally. I did the normal guy thing, head in the sand, deal with it later. I'll just focus on my wife and make sure she's okay. And I fell into this real like lull of a trap of just depression. Didn't want to be around, didn't really have a purpose, and just kind of felt really down. And a friend of mine said to me one day, mate, why don't we go karting, have some fun, and get together and just have a bit of a blast. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm up for that. I love an adrenaline rush, and I was there. Anyway, we went to this go-kart track once a month, and we both called it our medicine. We both had our own issues in our lives, and it just became kind of therapy for us. Putting a helmet on, sitting in a go-kart, going fast with nothing else to worry about.
You've got to focus.
Absolutely, otherwise you're going to get yeah, that's it. And it became just very therapeutic, just to kind of just have a new purpose in life rather than dealing with fertility all the time, because that just constantly was my life, was just
becomes
appointments
all consuming, doesn't it?
Yeah, and everything and anything you have around you, like friends and family having children, to your next appointment, the next time you got to produce a sperm sample and all the embarrassment of that and stuff. It was really difficult, and going month on month, I got better and better, and I got recognised for doing really well in a short space of time to win an achievement at Buckmore Park Driver of the Year. And it blew my mind, I couldn't believe it, but we just lost our second round of IVF, so it was a bit of a weird time. Anyway, a chap said to me, like, have you thought about becoming a race driver? And literally just laughed in his face, like, what the hell, like, that's not on my remit.
I've just been go-karting a few times.
Yeah, I'm too old for that game. But he invited me to Brands Hatch, had to go in his race car, and it honestly was like the most amazing experience of my life, and I'm so grateful for him just to give me that chance, really, because like it's a proper machine. And then he sat me down and was like, look, you've got some talent here. You can't just not race. You need to find a way to make it happen. And I was like, holy moly, then maybe I should. And it gave me this new lease of life. I was like, I went to a few companies and pitched them a sponsorship deal, raised some money. And then in 2019, I started a campaign called Racing for Fertility, because what I wanted to do was racing kind of like saved my life, because it gave me this like purpose. I thought, actually, here's the chance now to kind of go public with my story, which was actually at the time really bloody scary. But it's a chance to then raise awareness using something that actually was quite strange. Like motorsport wouldn't be something you'd expect to talk about, balls, testicles, sperm, and all the kind of weird stuff that we get embarrassed about. So
it'd be quite a nice way in, because I suppose men in particular, not to be stereotypical, but we, don't talk about things, that are going on with the downstairs.
Absolutely, yeah, we're rubbish.
So kind of drawing them in with something cool and quite macho.
Yeah.
And then gives that wee opportunity to open up, right?
Absolutely. And it did just that. BBC filmed me at Brands Hatch, and I was really scared. I almost said no, like on the day. I was like, why am I doing this? But anyway, I did this piece. It went live that evening on BBC News, and literally my phone went bonkers. Like people reaching out saying like, oh my God, like we're going through it. Thanks for raising awareness and stuff. And I was like, holy, this is really cool. Like I'm actually able to like influence people to reach out. Yeah. And then I started a support group with Fertility Network UK at the time. And guys were joining on, and we were just supporting them on just chatting about it. And actually that's all we needed, just a space for blokes just to come and have a little natter about how hard life is going through fertility. Yeah. And then I won a championship in 2021. And my racing, excuse the pun, has just accelerated from there. It's just gone up and up and up. And now I race a Porsche GT4, and it's like, how has this happened? But along that way, I helped co-fund a company called Tested, which is on the side of the car, proudly here.
Test him coming to all
so Ian Stones and Michael Close, both were involved with what I was doing with the support group. Michael has a company called Logix Pharma, but I had a big fertility wing with it, and I had a good conversation with him one day. He became a small sponsor at the start. And we just got our heads together one day and was just really basically banging our heads against the wall. There was not enough to be enough for the men, yeah. So within the support group and what we wanted to do, we wanted to get more research out there, more education, because we realised how big of an impact it had. During that time, thanks to those guys, I found out more about myself through Jonathan Ramsey. I had a varicocele present. So
what's a varicocele?
So varicocele is basically an enlarged vein in your testes, and that obviously causes heat stress. And heat stress then means that you've got potentially a high level of DNA fragmentation, and so that's exactly what
damage
effectively, yeah. In layman's terms, basically my sperm would get damaged because it was just too hot. Your balls are kind of outside for the reason that they should be cool.
Exactly.
And when there's too much blood there because of the enlarged vein, it just means that there's obviously more heat stress.
Because you've got warm blood coming from the body into the testicle.
That's it.
And then.
And I remember Jonathan Ramsey talking about this thing on one of our online support groups, and I was like, I've got that symptom.
Sounds familiar.
This sounds familiar. Yeah. We've just had like 2 rounds of IVF that's failed. I was like, maybe I need to go and see this guy. So anyway, I booked in to see him. I had an ultrasound, a DNA frag test done. obviously, and then a point with Jonathan Ramsey, loved the man to bits. He's a legend in my space, and he gave me this idea that actually that I probably am the issue. There's clearly evidence here that suggests that you might have a problem. So I went on to have an embolization, which is basically some coils in my abdomen through a radiologist.
So does that kind of prevent as much blood getting to the testicles?
Yeah, so it kind of blocks off the problem veins.
A bit better.
And then, and actually it was like almost like an overnight, that looks different. And we were chuckling, yeah, that's it. We were chuckling with my wife about it. It was like, oh my God, it's actually like straight away you could see a noticeable difference. And I could feel that there was no aches and stuff.
Just have a look and see if this look different to you.
And it was like that. And, we joke about it in jest, but actually that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just end that stigma of it because we need to be comfortable talking about these things, because otherwise I wouldn't have got checked had I not got comfortable with the idea of someone checking me. And actually it was
chatting.
Yeah.
And through the link of bringing folk in with the race and actually led to you getting the fertility treatment that you needed.
Yeah. And then 3 months after that, we had a spontaneous pregnancy. It blew my mind.
Natural conception, no fertility treatment required.
Yeah, which really was kind of like the ideology we had. Obviously, when you find someone you love and you want to have a family, you have this like idea that you'll have a moment of romance and that will be your memory forever that you've conceived. When you go to the IVF route, it all feels very clinical, and if it gets you what you want, for sure it's great, and it is the right thing for some people, but it does take away that element and it takes away that kind of human element of trying for a family to some extent. So we were obviously like overjoyed that we'd conceived, but then the 9 months pregnancy was genuinely hell, because we were like worried every single day that something
was going to go wrong.
I just looked after Katie and don't do anything. And eventually we had little Oliver. He's now 4, and our lives changed forever, and the campaign has grown since then. And we're just trying to do bigger and better things just to keep raising the bar. I've got long-term ambitions to make this a global campaign. Right now it's obviously very aware in the UK, but I want to now raise the funds to make this into Europe and obviously into the world. So I'm working hard trying to make that happen. So we'll see. But it's exciting.
So basically your racing career has gone from strength to strength. You're now the proud father of a lovely wee boy.
Yeah.
And Test Him are going from strength to strength as well, aren't they? So what's your big recent news then that you're telling me about earlier?
So the big recent news is that we've just recently launched our andrology services in partnership with the Fitzrovia Hospital in London. Ian, Michael and I always said, wouldn't it be great if one day we could have a clinic where we could actually see patients properly? So now we have a clinic in London at the Fitzrovia where we can host a whole range of additional advanced testing, led by clinicians. So we're there to support clinicians as a service.
So while you're fantastic in the driving seat, we don't want racing drivers to be providing fertility services to patients.
That's right, yeah.
You've teamed up with some top-notch clinicians then.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing, and it's so lovely to see like a big collaboration of people that really care. To be fair, I feel like a massive imposter in this space. Ian and Mike did a great job of testing. Mike's run Logics for a while, and I am just a patient, and I genuinely feel like an imposter. Like I've listened to some of the forums today, and some of the amazing research has been done, and these people are incredible. They blow my mind.
But don't play that down, because in academia, as scientists and clinicians, we can kind of get stuck in our own heads and into the science and the theory of it all, and ultimately, unless what we're doing in the labs or in the clinics work for patients, then what are we doing it for? So your voice is really important in focusing us on what we actually need to be working
and I appreciate
on. So
that.
That's a massive part of the puzzle as well.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that, because there, as much as data is there, that data is human beings that have got lives that may or may not be better because they've got children that they want children, etc. So yeah, for sure that's important. But honestly, I just feel like an imposter, and all I want to do is just help influence people to make the right choices. And my role within the testing brand is to be kind of the patient side of it, supporting people one-to-one, and just being that kind of, I've been in your footsteps and know exactly what it feels like. Because to tell you the truth, going through fertility issues is so difficult. When you've made that choice that you want a family, and then as that time goes on, that it's not happening. It's like an exponential graph of just pain, frustration, emotions, and it's really, really difficult to kind of keep kind of cracking on, really. And normally when you find that you're trying for a family, typically people around you are having babies, so it's just in your face all the time. You just can't escape it. And we got to a point where we were so isolated, we wouldn't go out for dinner, we wouldn't go to even just go and do supermarket shops, just because we didn't want to see children.
That's that.
We just felt like weirdos.
And it's so hard. you want to be happy for the people around you, but it's
but you're
so
envious
hard
as well.
to,
And you're all split, because we had nieces and nephews that we spent time with, and our friends had babies, and we were so happy for them, but we were like, oh God, like why us?
I know.
Like, we make great parents, why us? And it is really, really difficult, but obviously we got there in the end, which is I'm so grateful for. But now I just want to give back. I just want to give as much back as I can to other patients, and if I can just help influence things for the better, even if it's just to support someone. I said at the very beginning of all of this, if I could just help one other bloke out, I feel really happy.
Well, I think you've achieved that. You've done fantastic. So just before we finish up, for the petrol heads that might be listening to this, do you want to tell us just a wee quick bit about the car? So this is a Porsche Cayman. Sorry, you can tell I'm no.
Yeah, so this is
Porsche Cayman.
This is the Porsche Cayman GT4 RS Club Sport. So Porsche build these in the factory as a race car. So it's not converted; it's a pure race car.
See one of these driving down the high street.
Definitely not. If you see one of these on the high street, you probably did something quite illegal. So this runs 500 brake horsepower. It'll do 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds.
What's the top speed you've ever managed to get it to?
169 miles an hour is what I've made in this. So it's a fair speed. You're doing it, that's for sure. But I literally live on adrenaline. I love it. Like the faster I can go, the better. But it's an absolute weapon of a car. We race this thing to its absolute limit all around the UK. Put on a good show for people that love motorsport, and very, very privileged to be driving this thing.
Great. Well, so congratulations with the racing career, but also with your family, and thanks for everything that you do for
thank you very much.
Raising awareness of fertility.
Well, thanks for having me on. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that has definitely got me in the mood for the next episode. So if you don't want to miss out either, follow the Society for Reproduction and Fertility on our socials at SRF_Society UK, and subscribe at Spotify, Apple Podcasts or YouTube. See you next time.